Hello there, and welcome to Alvarez's Diecast Customs. Now today we're going to be working on this Hot Wheels Nissan 180SX. This is in the Forza Horizon 4 livery, one of their main lines. Quite a cool looking car. Bit of a lazy Decal application that they've done for it though, just slapping the Forza Horizon logo on the side and on the front. I like the casting, so we're going to see what else we can do with it. So let's just take a closer look at him. It's pretty cool. I've already taken the time to drill the posts out on this one. I start off with a 5mm drill bit, then work up to a 2mm to drill the remaining bit of the post out. I like to use these 5mm self-tapping screws to hold the base back on there. So we'll just pop this all off. Already taken care of just popping the wheels out. Very simple. Just putting a screwdriver underneath the axle and popping them upwards. There's those wheels. They're okay. Won't be keeping them though. There you can see the post pre-drilled. There's our window piece. Sort of a smoked glass effect. I like that. Be keeping that as it is. Quite a nice little interior. Quite a bit of detail to it compared to a lot of their other cars. So let's just get on with stripping the paint. I used some basic paint stripper from my hardware store. Leave it in a pot of it for about 30 minutes and then rinse it under a tap and use an old toothbrush to scrub the remaining bits of the paint off. I've also quickly gone over this one with a wire wheel. Just burnishes the surface of it. However, there is some casting errors on this one, sort of little creases and lines around it, so I'm just going to go around cleaning these up. Just use my fine files just to sort that out. I'm not too keen on this spoiler that they've moulded onto the rear of this. It's not really my thing, so I'm going to go about removing that in the meantime. Took it down to the shed and just used my Dremel with the sanding drum and just removed the excess of that. Just cleaned it up with the file again. We just need to sort out some of those wheels, so we're gone to see our goddess, Super Pochaco, and see what she can do for us. Give her the old ones back. Won't be needing these. Oh, what's that? Nice. Let's take a look. Oh, they're pretty cool. Got sort of a street look to them. Very nice. So back to the car. I'm going to be doing some mouldings on this one using some milliput. Going to be doing some wheel arches on there. I've done this previously on my unicorn and the drift truck build on my channel. So I just use equal amounts of the milliput sticks. You've got a white stick and one in a blue packet. Try and cut roughly the same amount of each. And then you just press them together and work them. You need to work them for at least 7 minutes according to the instructions. So just set a good amount of time just to knead this together, folding it, rolling it and everything. Eventually it'll start moulding in together and you're left with this. You can start working with it. So I'm just going to go around roughly, sort of putting sausage shapes around the archways of the body here. Just working on the material. It sticks quite well to the clean metal. Just sort of roughly cut it to shape. I want more than I need, because then at least I can work to the shape that I need without having to apply more at a later date. So yeah, more is better in this case. Just roughly work it to the shape I need. There we go, I've let that dry for about a day. Here it is, fully cured after a day there. Rock hard. Just go about moulding it into the shape I need now. So I'll be using my files again, along with a sharp scalpel. And just go about cutting it down. It's quite tough to work with at first, but you get the hang of it. Just slowly chip away at it, that's the way to do it. Piece by piece. Makes an absolute mess of your bench, but it's worth the trouble. There you go. After some filing down and cutting, you're left with what I've got here. Sort of, it's quite difficult to try and get all the arches to line up and sort of resemble each other, but try my best. It's not 100% perfect, but it'll do. As you can see here is the car with the wheels fitted, just what I'm going for with it, as you can see. Giving it a good coat of white paint. Initially I start off with a grey primer straight out of a rattle can from Halfords, and then use a diamond white from Halfords as well, which also comes out of a rattle can. So we're just going to test fit these wheels into it. As they are with the axles that comes with them, the wheels are far too inset with the arches that I've moulded onto this. So we're going to have to work something out with those. So I'm just going to be going about cutting the axles on these wheels. I will be using some of this brass tubing in order to extend the axles. These original axles on these wheels slot nice and neatly into the tube here. As you can see, wheel spins nice and freely. We'll just go about cutting some of this tubing down to fit what we need. Roughly gauge it to how long I need it. It cuts very easily with one of these scalpels without crushing it. As you can see, very clean cut. If you were to use some side cutters, you'd crush the tube before you even cut through it. So I prefer the scalpel method. And there we go, that's an extended axle. Sized up to the chassis there, you can see they go under the archways properly without sinking in too far. Now in order to get these wheels to glue into these tubes here, I'm just going to be filing a little notch out of the tube in here. As you can see, a little hole. Simply just place glue into those holes and then thread the axle through. It's a surefire way of keeping them glued in there without gluing the actual wheels themselves to the axles and seizing the entire thing up. I just want to be detailing some extra details on this body here. Just paint this little rear area in black. And then go about painting the rear tail lights in silver initially. And also the little headlights that are popping up out the bonnet. Give those a little lick of silver paint. And then again with the rear tail lights where I painted them silver, I'm just going to be using some Tamiya clear red. I like this method for painting in the tail lights. It gives some good depth and sort of reflective sort of effect to them. Just go about painting around the window sills on this one in black. So I've masked it off with some Tamiya masking tape. Tried to give a neat line as much as I could with this. Because I am painting directly onto white paint, any errors with the lines will really show up on this. So there's that. That's after that's dried. We'll just go about peeling that off. Yep, not bad. Now back to the tail lights again. I'll be using this Citadel Nuln oil just to bring a bit of depth out on them. So just work around the edges with this. It finds all the creases around the tail lights. Really highlights them. As you can see, looks a lot better already. Now I've gone and got some decals for this one. This is from Sideways King 75. He's also a YouTuber. He's one of the first YouTubers that I watched doing these customs, and got a credit to him. He pretty much got me into this hobby along with Danny's Diecast Disasters and Outlaw Speed Shop. But he's just started to produce these Decals as Sideways King 75, so I thought I'd grab a few of them off him. Very cool stuff. Definitely got some plans with these in the future. There's his links to his websites. Check him out, guys. Definitely worth a look. So you also threw these Zexal Decals in the box as well. They're the bonus ones that you threw in. There was a slight sort of printing error on one of them, so they didn't make the cut for selling, but he gave them to me for free. So I figured I'd try and find something to use them for. They are designed for a Nissan Skyline, but I thought I'd try them out on this Nissan 180SX. Try and work with the ones that I can use. So all you need to do is, just as you can see, I just cut out the decals using a scalpel, dunk them in the water for about 5 to 10 seconds and place them on a little kitchen towel for a few moments. Let that sit for a bit. I use some microsol on the model just to sort of wet the area where I need to place it. You can see the decals ready to come off just by gently rubbing it on the backing paper. Use some fine tweezers just to sort of finesse where I need to put it, and then just use my finger just to position it on the model. Once it's in a position I'm happy with, I just use some cotton buds just to wipe away the excess moisture. Do this very gently. You don't want to press it. You just lightly roll the cotton bud over it. Let the actual thing itself do the work, not you force it. Again, going with another decal on the roof. Same procedure. Microsol. Check the decals loose on the backing paper. Use the tweezers to pick them up. Being very careful where you grab them with the tweezers. You don't want to sort of tear the decal itself. They're very thin. Just remove it using my fingertip. And again, just a dab of microsol again around the edges. The microsol helps the decal adhere to uneven surfaces a lot better. And again, just use the Q-tip or cotton bud just to position it and soak up the moisture. Now on the actual chassis on this one, it had an exhaust pipe with some other details on the bottom. I'm going to be removing these, so I'll just use my scalpel just to chop them off. I want to make sort of a rear spoiler, whatever they call them, a rear diffuser, that's it. Stick one of those on the bottom of this. Let's go about filing the excess of that off. As you can see, removed a lot of material there. Just offer it up to the body just to make sure it's where I need it to be. So just about right. And there's our wheels again. I just went around the edges or the rims on these, just using some silver paint just to pick out a little bit of detail on them. So we can go about making this rear diffuser now. I just got this off-cut of plastic card that I'll be using for this. It's all about sizing up and going by eye and everything, trying to get things right, just to how much you need. Basically just wing it most of the way, to be honest. Just use this pencil just to roughly mark out the amount of plastic card I'm going to require for this. And here's what I come up with the rear diffuser. Did a couple of fins on it and stuck an exhaust pipe on it using some brass tubing, crushed it one end. Also had to make a hole in the middle of it just so I can still use my screw through the base. Just stick that up on using some super glue. Also went over the whole base with some matte black paint straight out of the spray can. Very pleased with how that diffuser came out. So I'm going to be using one of these silver Sharpies. I've seen other people on YouTube use them for their customs. Thought I'd give them a shot. Never used this sort of thing before. I usually go about brush painting everything on these chassis using a fine paintbrush and silver paint, but it can be quite messy and very difficult to control the paintbrush. I'm quite happy with how the Sharpie works around these things. It's a lot easier and a lot cleaner to use. I may use it a bit more in future on the chassis for these little details. I also sprayed the interior quickly with a quick coat of silver paint straight out of a spray can. I picked that silver paint up from the pound shop. I was like, well, for £1, I'll give it a go. It's actually quite good silver paint. I might use it for a whole body build on one of my cars one day. So now we can go about building it up. I went over the body in some clear coat straight out of a spray can again, after applying all the decals and letting them dry for a while. I also gave the interior piece some added detail running a Nuln oil wash, and there's the chassis. Nuln oil wash over that as well. As you can see, it gives it a slight more sort of depth to everything and a bit of a sheen to other areas and matted in others. There's those cool looking wheels. Just go about putting it all back together. And there's these 5mm self-tapping screws that I use. I brought a whole bag of these off eBay. Must have been about 500 in the bag for about £4. Excellent value. Use them on all of my cars. So let's take a look at what we started with. It's pretty cool to begin with. A bit lazy decal application, as I said. Incidentally, this actual car, the 180SX, isn't actually in Forza Horizon 4. There's other versions of the 180, but not the SX version. Quite funny, really, considering they made a model out of it. Well, here's what we ended up with. Very cool, in my opinion. Probably some of the best decals I've used, these are, actually. I've used many back in the days when I used to make plastic kits, but very impressed with these ones. We'll just take a closer look at it now. It rolls very nicely on those wheels. As you can see, the clear coat sealed everything in. Trouble is, being a white paint with a clear coat over it, it's like a dust magnet. Just little bits of fluff and everything that's picking up off my bench. Little bits of black fluff and other things. It's all stuck over it. That'll subside over a few days, the staticness of it all. Yeah, very cool. Quite enjoyed doing this one. It's not very often I use the clays to mould out some areas on these. It's quite an undertaking, really. It really adds to the build time of the drying and cutting and everything of them. But yeah, very happy with this one. Just glad it rolls as well. It's very difficult, especially when you're making archways and things on your models, is to keep the wheels from fouling on them. It's very difficult to stop them doing that. So here's some closer shots of it. Very happy with the outcome of this one. Clear coat went on perfectly as always. Let me know down in the comments, guys, what you think of it and if you'd like to see anything different. Also, if you've got any suggestions for future builds, always give me a shout. I'm always open ears. I just wanted to take a look at these decals again from Sideways King 75. Definitely got some plans with these in the future. As you can see, I've got some Nissan Skyline Calsonic versions. I'll be definitely doing a build on one of those. Some Castrals. Love the Castrol liveries and the Martini liveries as well. Definitely got some good builds planned with those. All the decals comes with a good amount of instructions for using them, and also a little exclusive sticker of his. Very cool looking. Oh yeah, very impressed with these. Love them. You'll definitely be buying some more of them. So in the meantime, let's go and see our goddess Super Pochaku and see what she's got for us next time. Oh, what's that? take a closer look at that. Nice. Ah, very cool. This is a Hot Wheels night shifter. Got a very interesting look to it. What we can do with that. Very nice. Thanks for that. Anyway guys, thanks for watching. This has been Alvarez's Diecast Customs, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.